Since the dawn of time, legends have warned us of gods who demand more than worship. Gods who thrive on war, deception, and death. Some rule through fear, others through manipulation. But all require one thing: sacrifice. A debt paid in blood. Guardians, welcome to my channel. I'm Pixel Nomad, and today we're venturing deep into the dark mythology of the Hive, the terrifying gods they serve, the brutal laws they follow, and the horrifying truth behind their endless war. These creatures are not just an alien race, they're zealots, a religion of destruction. Their faith forged in blood and suffering. But what if I told you their gods are not so different from the ones found in our own myths and legends? From ancient warrior cults of Earth to eldritch horrors lurking in forgotten lore, the Hive's origins stretch further than we ever imagined. And today we're going to unravel the terrifying truth behind them. Prepare yourself, Guardian. This would change the way you see the Hive forever. The Hive do not seek salvation. They do not beg for mercy. They exist only to serve, to kill, to conquer. But what if their gods were more than just monsters? What if the Hive were not merely alien, but a reflection of something much older? A cycle that has played out long before humanity ever walked the earth. They're not just a species. They are a doctrine, a faith where only the strong survive, and the weak are ground into dust. And their gods, their terrible, insatiable gods, are echoes of something ancient, something we have seen before. The Hive do not merely worship their gods, they worship an idea, a law of the universe that dictates that only the strongest deserve to exist. This is the sword logic. Before they became the Hive, they were the Krill, a desperate people on the storm-ridden world of Fundament. They already believed that strength and survival were one and the same. But when the worm gods whispered to them, this belief became an unbreakable law. The worms demanded tribute, endless sacrifice in exchange for power. Take life, feed the worm, or die. But it was Oryx who proved the truth of this law. He did not simply follow the worm's demand. He made the sword logic a fundamental law of existence. When he killed his own god, Akka, the worm of secrets, he showed that only those who take power deserve to wield it. From that moment, the sword logic was no longer just a philosophy. It became a cosmic law, upheld by slaughter, written in blood. Throughout history, this belief has echoed across civilizations. The Norse gods faced Ragnarok, where only the strongest warriors would fight in an endless cycle of death and rebirth, much like the Hive, who waged war to prove their worth. The Aztecs believed that war and sacrifice were necessary to sustain the universe, mirroring the Hive needs to kill in order to survive. The Hindu Bhagavad Gita speaks of war as part of the cosmic cycle, where destruction is not an end but a necessity for balance, just as the Hive see death as means to ascension. But even the Hive bow to something greater. The worm gods, ancient beings that lurk in the black void beyond time. To the Krill, they were salvation. To the Hive, they are masters. To the universe, they are an ever-hungry abyss. The worm gods are not gods of kindness or wisdom. They are deities of endless consumption. They do not give freely. Their power is brought with blood, and their hunger is never sated. The Hive did not create their monstrous ways. They were forged in the bellies of their gods. Yul, Ir, Ur, Zol, and Akka, the great worm gods, offered power with a condition: endless tribute. The Hive must kill, not just to conquer, but to feed their gods. Their insatiable hunger is a reflection of ancient fears. The fear of bottomless maws that swallow entire civilizations. The terror of gods whose gifts are poisoned with eternal servitude. This is not a new story. In Lovecraftian horror, Xivu Arath is the black goat of the woods. An endless birthing horror that demands constant life to sustain its ever-growing brood. In Norse mythology, Jormungandr, the great world serpent, grows larger and larger, destined to consume the world itself. The Roman god Saturn devoured his own children to prevent them from rising against him, a fate much like the Hives, who must eternally sacrifice or face being devoured by their own gods. Fenrir, the great wolf of the Norse legends, was born in chains but prophesied that one day will break free to consume Odin, just as the worm gods lurk in the deep, waiting for their moment to swallow the universe whole. The Mesopotamian chaos dragon Tiamat was slain to create the world, her destruction birthing new life, much like how the Hive's endless cycle of death fuels their unholy evolution. The Hive believe they're enacting divine will, but in truth, they're prisoners. There's no freedom, only the unrelenting need to kill, to conquer, to feed. Their gods do not gain eternity, they demand it, consuming all in their path, and should the Hive ever fail to sustain them, they too will be devoured. There is no escape, there is no mercy. There is only hunger. In Greek mythology, Kronos ruled as the tyrant king of the gods. Feared by all, he devoured his own children to prevent them from overthrowing him. In Hindu myth, Yama, the lord of death, presided over judgment of souls, deciding their fate in the afterlife. Oryx, the taken king, is both a conqueror and a god of death. He was not born a god. Once he was Orash, a desperate princess on the storm-ridden planet of Fundament. She made a pact with the worm gods, ancient entities that whispered promises of eternal power, but that power had a cost. And so Oryx followed the sword logic to its ultimate conclusion. He did not just kill his enemies, he erased them. He traveled into the deep and slew his own god, Akka, the worm of secrets, devouring its power and learning to take, to rewrite the very essence of his enemies. Just like Kronos, who consumed his children to maintain his throne, Oryx devoured the knowledge of his god to transcend mortality. Like Yama, he reshaped the afterlife, pulling his victims into the taken. He twisted their souls to serve him in death. He did not just kill his enemies, he erased them, he rewrote them. He became their god. There are gods who rule through force, and then there are gods who rule through lies. In Norse mythology, Loki was a trickster, deceiving gods and mortals alike, manipulating the very fabric of fate itself. In Greek myth, Hermes was the god of thieves, messengers, and hidden knowledge, a traveler between worlds. Savathûn, the witch queen, is the embodiment of both, a deceiver who shapes reality with secrets, a manipulator who spins the grandest lies. Savathûn was once Satona, a frail child exiled with her sisters. She survived by listening to the whispers of a dead worm, learning that knowledge is power. While her siblings embraced war, she embraced deception. She lied to survive. She tricked to ascend. But her greatest deception was not against her enemies. It was against the very gods that gave her power. Unlike Oryx and Xivu Arath, she sought freedom, not servitude, and she achieved the impossible. She defied the worm gods themselves. Through centuries of manipulation, she wove an elaborate escape, twisting the very nature of her existence until she could break free from the endless hunger that bound her. She tricked her own people, she deceived the guardians, and in the end, she stole the light itself. For some gods, war is a means to an end. But for Xivu Arath, war is the end. It is not a path to power, it is power. It is the only truth that matters, the only way to prove one's existence. In Hindu mythology, Kali is the goddess of war and destruction. Her dance atop the battlefield is a celebration of death. In Greek myth, Ares, the god of bloodshed, waged war not for conquest, but for the sheer joy of combat. Xivu Arath is the reflection in the Hive. She does not plot like Savathûn, nor command like Oryx. She fights, she kills, she dominates. To her, war is not chaos, it's order. It is the natural state of the universe, where only the strongest survive, and only through constant battle can one prove their worth. She is not a ruler, she is a force of nature, an unrelenting storm of annihilation that sweeps across the cosmos. And she will not stop until everything, even her own people, are tested and reforged in the fires of endless war. The Hive do not pray, they do not hope. They know their gods demand deception and conquest, and they obey. But the real question is, are we any different? Guardians, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed my content, please leave a like to this video and subscribe to my channel. And may the light be with you.